We are going to understand the topic of alienation, that is a very core topic in Marxist work. It is a part of series of lectures which we already have been carrying out, and let us begin with the idea of alienation. For your exam purpose, it is very important because alienation has always been asked in the exam, even NET as well as the various exam where sociology has been asked. Even in contemporary society, to understand the social problem and understand the theoretical premise on which these social problems have been studied by various sociologists. So, this idea of alienation seems very relevant. Let us begin with understanding the idea of alienation. So, Marx, in his work of Economic and Political Manuscript, 1844, that is EPM, it is a very important book. It's a thin book. One can also read if he or she wants. In that book, Marx has discussed this idea of alienation. And basically, alienation in sociology means that it's a separation from one thing to another. If I say that you are being alienated from this person, so it directly means that you are being separated from that person. It may be of various reasons. There are various personal reasons, social reasons, and even natural reasons can also lead to the alienation. According to Marx, what alienation means is it is a situation in which a feeling of enragement and disenchantment is experienced from a group, a society, situation, and over the individual himself. Marx defined the term alienation in terms of enragement and disenchantment, where enragement and disenchantment means that it's not a happy and healthy separation. It is because of the person who is being separated from another person is due to some unhappiness or due to some lack of satisfaction between the relation between these two. Also, alienation also refers there because it's being a very important topic in sociological discourse. So alienation also refers to the situation of powerlessness, isolation, meaninglessness, and it is experienced by people, a group of people, or large number of people, even societies, small communities feel alienated with certain things. For example, if I would say that suppose there is a tribal land and tribals are living on that land for centuries, but suddenly one day what government plans to build a dam on that particular land, or maybe wanted to build a multi-purpose project. So for that purpose the tribal have to be displaced from that place because all the portion of land going to subside within the dam. So in that case, that person, the tribal who are inhabited at that place, were get alienated from the dam. But in case they are very happy about dam building, they wanted that dam should be built, and they are happily leaving this place, that will be not be called as alienation. That would be called as a new development and displacement of the tribals. I hope it making sense. Let us come back to the Marxist discussion. Then according to Marx, that there are various causes of alienation. What are the main causes? So generally, if we think what are the main causes of alienation in our day-to-day life, we might find various causes. But Marx understood the terms alienation in terms of creativity. As we all know that the man is a social animal, man, that is a person, is a social animal, and in order to engage into certain things, he or she must create. We have listened this in the first lecture itself, that creation is a very essential thing for the human to survive, and the essence of creation, that the feeling of creation and the feeling of the created goods make our life worth. So because we know that there is a creative potential in each individual like me and you, so the creation holds a very primary place in our human life to understand the whole human essence. So what happened is that when the person get alienated, or a society it might not feel good to even create, and that is become a very important challenge for a person's survival as well as the society's survival at whole. So, before we proceed to the details of the alienation, it is important to understand that this idea of Marx is pretty much linked with his another work, that is historical materialism, which we have already talked about in our previous lectures. That how society has progressed from primitive communism to ancient mode of production to feudalism to capitalism and to socialism and then communism. Marx believed this the linear way of society. So the idea of alienation will go side by side in each and every society. It is not alienation is not something which is new. It is being part of society from the very old time, from the even the primitive communism. The alienation existed in the primitive communism stage also. So let us begin by understanding how society, with its gradual movement from past to present, and how the idea of alienation has interrelation with the whole notion of historical materialism. So it is basically a theory, and Marx what Marx said that in the primitive communism, what happened? There was no class division between the two societies and all, but there also exists alienation in terms of natural alienation. Basically, what happened that there are some people who might get benefit from nature. There are some people who might not get benefited from the nature. For example, if a person went to forest to fetch some woods, suppose he went to the forest and there are plenty of woods that day, maybe because of rain, maybe because of a storm, maybe because of some other factors, he might get lot of woods that day. That person will return happily because he came to forest for the woods. He got sufficient woods. While take example of another person, went to the village, but he might not get the woods because some other person might have got the wood. Maybe not that much would have been fallen from the trees on that day. So that person will return with unhappy face. Why? Because nature does not has provided the equality. So that person will feel jealousy, anger with the nature or with the another person. So this is basic human emotion between two people. But what happened, and this might lead to the alienated relation between the person A and person B. Let's come to the notion of ancient mode of production between master and serf relation. Now the class society has been existing between haves are masters and the have-nots are the serfs. So here in the ancient mode of production, the idea of slavery and exists, that there are slaves and there are slave owners. So slaves are those who are working, who feel that they are connected to their work, they are working and they get the produce of their work, while the slave owners feel that these slaves are their property and they are working for his welfare. So they will feel attached with this themselves each. And one thing you should notice that the slave and slave owners are in a relation and they are regularly in contact. The slaves at least not getting properly their produce, but they might be getting some share of their produce in order to survive and work next day. So they are in an interrelation and they feel that they are attached to their owners. So they are not separated from each other. They are a part of parcel of the same system. Similarly, in feudalism, what happened? The slave owners turned into feudal lords. They are owning a large plot of land, the whole zamindari setup and all. You must be aware of it. And the whole slaves are turned into serf. Serf are those who are just ploughing the field and providing the produce. They got some freedom from the condition of slaves. They are better than slaves because society has progressed from that time, slavery to serfdom. So what happened? There are also some interrelation between them. They are working in the field of the feudal lord, and the feudal lord, after taking some revenue from them, return some goods. You must all have seen the movie Lagan, where the Jamindar will get some portion of the share, two-third of the produce, or one-third of the produce is left behind for the serf or the kisan. Similarly, society gradually progressed from feudalism to capitalism, where the feudal lords have converted into bourgeois and the serfs are converted into proletariat. So what happened that the whole bourgeois is what Marx said, that in the capitalism this whole alienation reaches at its peak. What happened is that in capitalism, Marx said it is the most exploitating system for the workers, because the factory owners, traditionally, if you see that they have to, the serfs or maybe the slaves, they have to only work for some cropping season or some agriculture season, only that time. Otherwise they are free to do their work. Some people are become potter, some people are become washerman, some people are doing some other work, wielding swords. And what happened in capitalism, due to the industrial setup, that is the factories came. So what the main premise behind the factory setup is that the bourgeois wanted to maximize their profit. To maximize their profit, they tried to extract as much as they could from the labor. And in order to extract as much as they could, the working condition in the factory for the worker were brutally extreme. They have to work for some 14, 15, 16 hours in a day. There are no holidays, no weekdays, nothing at all. Even the children, young children of under age 12, they have to work in mines, because in mines children are small and they are able to get inside the mines. So the working condition of the children, the women, the worker were too much exploitative, that the whole alienation notion of alienation, that is the enragement and disenchantment, has reached its peak as per Marx. So what happens is this, that the workers are feeling more disattached to their owners, because they do not personally see their mill owners. The industry they are working, the owner is living lavishly. They rarely visit the workers. Worker don't feel like that they are working under certain person, like in earlier times, where they are knowing their who is their owner, who is the person who is funding their food, and who is the person who are owning them in the terms of slaves. And also one important thing which happened is this, that the workers who were in a factory mode of production, now what they are producing does not necessarily being useful for them. By this I mean that look at the earlier situation. In the feudalism, workers were producing what? They are producing grains, they are producing cloths, and the same cloth, the same grain they are using by themselves. They might not get the full what they produce, because the owner will have most of it, but at least they will eat the same grain which they are producing. Now in industrial society, if we look into it, what we see that the worker, for example, suppose a factory is there, a Rolls-Royce factory is there. Rolls-Royce, a car brand, you all know. So suppose a Rolls-Royce factory is there, and there are different set of workers who are working there. But what happened? Are they able to purchase the Rolls-Royce with the meager wage they are getting? Absolutely not, because the final product which they will build is complete luxury. Similarly, imagine a airplane manufacture factory which manufactures aeroplane. What happened? Do you believe that all those persons who made the aeroplane were able to fly in that aeroplane with the wages they get? I think most of them will never even get to fly in that same aeroplane which they built. So what happened in the capitalist mode of production? The gap between the haves and have-nots has intensified so much that the have-not are feeling so much disenchanted with the process that they don't feel the connect between them and the haves, and the gap has intense so much. So here Marx explained this topic in terms of the idea of fetishism of the commodity. Now, what is fetish? Fetish is the object which we have with which we have a sense of distance. What is fetish for us? For example, suppose as a student, I would say, what is fetish for us? I would say bad habits, alcoholism and all. Every student should develop a sense of fetish with these ideas. Because why? Because these are beyond us. We should not be doing this and we should not be getting this. So what happened is this. Marx explained the idea of fetishism of the commodity in terms that the workers who create the commodity, that is in our example Rolls-Royce car, are not able to purchase it. There are many things in this world who are produced by the workers, but the worker themselves do not able to purchase it. Can you imagine, we say Swiss chocolate? Workers of Ghana or workers from West Africa, they work very hard in order to plant coffee and extract the cacao beans from which the chocolate has been made. But that chocolate, after processing into various machines and branding and marketing takes place, and that chocolate become inaccessible for the worker himself, and the worker find it extremely difficult to purchase that same chocolate which is product of their hard work, that is by collecting the cocoa beans. So that thing, that Swiss chocolate has become fetish for the cocoa worker of the Ghana. So Marx said that in the capitalist mode of production, the gap becomes so intense that even the own produce is become inaccessible for the worker, and he or she develop a fetish towards that commodity, that that thing which I cannot afford it, it's beyond me. And in his work Capital, Marx's seminal work Capital, there is a particular chapter called Fetishism of the Commodity, and where he explained in very depth that how this process of alienation took place in industrial society. Now, for the purpose of exam, we are focusing on the very key things which you should note it down, because these things are being asked in exam repeatedly multiple number of times. So according to Marx, there are 4 types of alienation. What are these 4 types? I think most of you are aware of it because it is being taught in bachelor's itself. First is alienation from the process of production. Second is alienation from the product. Third is alienation from the fellow workers. And the fourth and the final one is alienation from the self. So what these all 4 means? Let us go briefly in these 4 things, because you must be aware of all the details of it. So first, alienation from the process of production. So what Marx said, that this alienation, the sense of separation, first start from the whole process of production. That is, in capitalism, things are produced in the factories by machines, because the factories are not just using manual labor, they are also using machines. And machines For everything which work require energy, the basic physics notion. So from where machines get energy? Any option? Any answer? Basically, machines run on inanimate source of energy. Not manually, someone is pushing the machine to work. It is getting electricity. Electricity is being produced by dams that is natural water, or maybe thermal power plant where it is being coal are used, where a nuclear power plant where nuclear power is used, and that power runs the machine. So the process of production, which is designed and planned on the working of machine, is already pre-designed. Basically, the power will come, machine will run, the production thing will happen, and you will get the final product. What will happen? That the machine become a inanimate worker, because a worker has to only just tap the switch on, and the machine started to work. The whole automatic machinery will work. And when the human worker will put the switch off, what will happen? The machine is stop and work is stop. So it is not the worker who is doing the work. It is the machine who is doing the work. So worker, what the thing happen, that the worker do not feel that he is producing thing. While in the ancient time, imagine someone is a potter. The person who is a potter will bring the soil, the clay from the river by himself, will set up the wheel, will rotate the wheel. We will, after that, rotating the wheel, that person will place that soil on the wheel and shape it by their own hands. So in this whole process, the person feel attached with the whole process. But in the machine setup, that person only know one job. That is, he has to put switch on at 9 a.m. and put switch off at 3 p.m. That's all. The whole work will be done. So the person will find himself distance from the process. Whatever the thing machine is producing, that person's feeling is not involved with that thing. For him, his only job is to put switch on or off. So he will feel that he is disattached with this whole process of production. Coming to the second point, that is alienation from the product. So in what happened in capitalism, that things are produced in mass quantity. You know the Ford model of conveyor belt and all. Take the example of this phone. This phone is not the single piece in itself. There are 1,000 more phones are produced in assembly line of the factory. So what happened? All the phones are same which are being produced from the factory. For example, this phone is of Samsung, and in the Samsung factory, suppose this model is S20. So S20 model has been manufactured by the Samsung factory on a particular date. So all the phones which are being produced from the factory will be S20 itself. So what happens is this, that the worker has no control over quantity or the quality. It is not the worker who will decide how much phone the company will make. Or the worker will not decide that this S20 phone, we will not make it iPhone. It is the boss who will decide that what model will be produced, how much quantity will be produced. So worker lost this control. But what happened in earlier times? We will come back to the potter's example. In earlier time, what happened? That the worker, if he want to make a bowl, he will just make a bowl. He will decide he will make 2 bowls and 5 glasses. Worker has complete choice on the number as well as the quality. He want to make a round bowl, he will make a round bowl. He want to make a square bowl, he will make a square bowl. He don't want to make bowl, then he don't make bowl. But in factory, does the worker has this authority? No. So he will even alienate it from the product. The product which is the finally manufactured item, the worker has no say into it. And also, he cannot control the sale of product also. Suppose the person who is making the bowl, the potter who is making the bowl, wanted to sell that bowl in 5 rupees, he can sell it on 5 rupees. If he don't want to sell on 5 rupees, he want to sell on 10 rupees, he can sell on 10 rupees. It is his choice. For some people, he might give this bowl to 100 rupees. For some people, he might give this 15 rupees. Because that person is complete owner of it, and what he wanted, he can have right over it and can sell over it. But what happened with this factory made manufactured good? He cannot decide neither quality nor quantity nor even the pricing. What the company will decide the price, he has to purchase it. That's all. So coming to the third point, alienation from the fellow workers. What happened that workers are working in the factory. It is not usually one worker in the factory, there are many workers. But what happened is this, that because the work is so much specialized that each worker may not get chance to interact with fellow worker. Suppose someone is in a car factory, someone is installing a door, someone is painting the car, someone is tightening the screw of the car. So these people are so much busy because the conveyor belt is always running that they do not get chance to interact with each other. And work is like maddening because everyone is doing very fast work, and as they are always being monitored by the CCTV cameras, and also they do not have this luxury of not doing things. So what happened, even they are working in the same factory but they are not talking with each other because they do not get time. So eventually what happens, that person, that worker does not able to interact with another worker, and the alienation takes place between one worker with the other. While in ancient time that this thing will not happen, because if a person who is bringing, again the potter example, if the person who is bringing the clay, the person will be talking with the person who is building this ball and cup or glass. So they were interacting in earlier times, but now due to factory mode of production, the whole setup of interaction as well as the relation between two people has ended, and this led to further alienation. Coming to the fourth and the final one, that is alienation from the self. This is the last stage of alienation, as the worker is already alienated or separated from the production process, from the product itself, from the fellow workers, and now that person become alienated from himself or herself. How? That in the factory mode of production, or that is in a capitalist society, what happens is that the worker feels so helpless that he even start doubting even his own existence. He keeps on doubting himself that why I am here even. He is working for 16 hours daily, coming back home, and because after working for 16 hours he is extremely tired and has no time to interact with family. He just came home, eat and sleep, again wake up and go to factory in the morning. He don't know what his children do, he don't know what his wife is doing, he don't know how things are going at his home, how things are going around his friends, families and all. He just separated from each of the people. Even in contemporary scenario, you can see the many IT workers and many people who are working double shift jobs, and they do not have even time for their own children, their own family, and nothing at all. So that they become alienated from themselves in a long run. What happened in the capitalist society, that even after working so hard, their salary is low, because the capitalist has to earn profit from their work. His salary is low. He's there, and also the owner said that you are free to sell your work. If you want to sell me, you can sell me or work here. If you want to sell at another company, you are free to do it. But this freedom is not the true freedom. It is a deceptive one. Because if the person go to another factory, why the another factory owner will take him if he know that this person don't want to work, and that if the another factory owner will know that this person has been removed from some other factory because he don't want to work, that factory owners do not want to employ or hire someone who has habit of leaving companies. So what will happen? The worker has to survive because he has his own family, children. To survive, he has to do work, and to do work, he has to agree with the conditions of the factory owners. So even if he want to do work or not is not determined by himself, because if he do not work, his family will starve. So the thing is this, even his ability to do work, which is very innate of a person, is not his own. And this is the state where he lost his sense of control even upon his own will. He do not have even choice whether he want to do work or not. And it is called as alienation. And there are also, if we go in detail, there are also two things, that first at the level of things, and the second one is at the level of his own ideas. First, because he lost the control of the things, even lost the control of the choices. So in that condition, what will happen? That the worker is alienated from himself. But what happened at a more broader level? What happened is that at the level of his own ideas of right and wrong is shaped by the capitalist. The capitalist is determined to shape even the personal ideas of the worker, and the capitalist will say that doing work is good, and the person, that is the worker, will think that this person is saying good because he don't even have his own idea. Look at our surrounding. We become so much passionate about the things which has been prepared by the capitalist market itself. We feel that getting job is primary important thing. Who said this? It is not said by us. It is not our own thought. It is the thought which is being imbibed in our mind through the process of socialization, that at certain age you have to leave your family and go and get a job. So this is how we, or especially the worker, feel alienated with the capitalist system. So in the nutshell, this whole idea of alienation is deeply associated with the idea of fetishism of the commodity, creativity, historical materialism. There are 4 types of alienation. Alienation from the process of production, alienation from the product, alienation from the fellow workers, alienation from the self. And in the capitalist mode of production, the alienation will reach its peak. But Marx theory does not end here. In the next lecture, we will be studying the idea of way forward. That is what Marx has suggested in the idea of de-alienation. How to change this alienated state and bring back worker to its own life and our own idea, and what will be the condition of workers' alienation in the communism or in the subsequent changes of the society which Marx has predicted. So that's all for this lecture. I hope you find it helpful. Thank you.